Hey, today we are going to be talking about inequalities, and you should be able to answer the question, how do I write an inequality showing a real-world situation? This is from Standard 6EE8, and you should be able to write an inequality to represent a condition in the real world. And so we have talked about this in the past. The beginning of it's a bit of a review. You have probably already talked in the past about greater than or less than. We've talked about how greater than or less than applies in the real world. Meaning, we could have greater than 20 students in the class. Okay, that means that there's more than 20 kids in our class. We could have less than 6 apple pies. That means that I have 5 apple pies, 4 apple pies, 3 apple pies, or no apple pies, but I don't have many more than that, 5. So those are forms of inequalities that we've done in the past. I don't know if you remember them, but I used to talk about them when I was younger as an alligator. There's like this little alligator, and he was a hungry alligator, and he wanted to eat the number that was the bigger number, right? So if you had a 1 over here, and you had a 10 over here, of course the alligator wanted to eat the 10 fishies instead of the 1 fishy because he was a hungry alligator. Hope you remember the alligator. Well, now we're growing up, so we're going to move beyond the alligator. We're going to talk about how this applies to algebra. And so what we're looking at now is applying variables. So we still can have our hungry alligator, but this time that hungry alligator is going to eat the value of x because we know that x is greater than 1. So we move beyond using the regular numbers, and now we can start applying variables. So we have our greater than, we can have our less than. So we have greater than, we have less than. We know that whatever value is less than another value. And notice I'm always putting my variable on the left. I like to start with my variables first and put them on the left-hand side. It just makes it more easy for me to clearly state which is the way that we're going with the inequality. So now, going further than that, beyond just the greater than or less than, we also talked about in the past equal. Okay? And we show equal by doing that little sign like that, right? So sometimes we have a variable, and maybe that variable is showing us a number that is either equal to something or greater than it, or equal to something or less than it. And a way that I like to think of this is when you go to restaurants. And you guys are, most of you, coming to the age now where you no longer qualify for the children's menu. Because a lot of places, the children's menu is 11 or under, right? You have to be 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. Now, some of you, raise your hand if you're 11 years old. Okay? So some of you are, you're getting older. Do we have 12-year-olds in here? Okay, so our 12-year-olds, that children's menu, you don't qualify anymore because you're older, you're greater than the cutoff, okay? But that's an example of an inequality. It is 11 or less. You have to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or 11, but you cannot be 12, okay? Now, how about when we go to amusement parks? And they have a ride, and it says you must be 4'6" in order to ride this ride. So you could be 4'6" or anything greater than that, right? So, Hayden, how tall is your dad? 6'7", right? Is he greater than 4'6"? Could he ride the ride?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. But what if somebody is 4'6"? Could they ride the ride?
Yes.
Yes, because they're at least 4'6" or greater. Okay? So those are some ways that we can talk about and use inequalities in the real world. But now how do we show them? How do we write them? Well, we're going to combine our understanding of greater than and less than, and also our understanding of equal to. Okay? And we're going to create a new symbol, and that new symbol is going to be a mixture of both. And so we could have greater than or equal to, which would look like greater than, like we had up here above. But it also is going to have a connected of equal to. So I connected my equal to and my greater than, and I made a new symbol that shows that it represents both. So like I said in my example, it could be like greater than or equal to 4'6". So 4'6" or bigger. Okay? So I'm showing you that I could be 4'6", or I could be 4'7", 4'8", 5 foot, 5'4", 6'7", 7 feet. I could be anything that's bigger or at least 4'6". Now, we also said less than or equal to, so we would go the opposite way. Here's our less than and our equal to. And we gave the example, like I just said, of that children's menu where you could be at less than 11. It's no bigger than 11. So it's either going to be 11 or 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, or whatever. Okay? So those are some examples that we would have. So just showing that in this case, you could be 11, you could be 10, you could be 9, you could be 8, or anywhere moving downwards. On this case, you could be 4'6", you could be 4'7", you could be 4'8", or anywhere moving above. But it starts with that value. So we work our way. And like I said, my hint here, guys, is I always like to start with a variable. Okay, so the hint is that you start with a variable. And that just makes it clear. So I like to start with my variable on the left-hand side. Okay? So let's look at some examples. Some other words that I also like to keep in here is I like to remember that greater than or equal to, one of the things we're going to look for a lot of the times is at least. And for less than or equal to, we're going to look for no more. So you may have no more than 8 cookies. You can have 8 cookies, 7 cookies, 6 cookies, 5 cookies, or 4 cookies. But you may not have 9 cookies because that's more. You may have at least 2 pieces of broccoli. So you have to start off with 2 pieces of broccoli. Doesn't that sound like a mom thing to say? Eat at least 2 pieces of broccoli. But you could, if you want, and you love that broccoli, you could have 12 pieces of broccoli, but you have to have at least 2. Okay? All right, so let's look at our examples down here below. What I like to do when I'm reading these, I like to mark the text a little bit. So I first go through and find any keywords in the sentence that are notes to me, like what the inequality would be. So in this first one, there are fewer than 12 boys in the class, okay? Fewer than, I'm going to circle that. Well, up here, fewer than means that there is less than. There's not more than. It's fewer than. So we're going to put the inequality for fewer than. And I'm going to circle the number. There's 12 boys. And I don't know how many boys there are. So because I don't know how many boys there are, I just know that it's less than a certain amount. I'm going to put a variable. So I'm going to say boys are less than 12. The next one, let's see if we have any key words. I have more than 8 pairs of shoes. I have way more than 8 pairs of shoes, just saying. So, but we don't know how many shoes I have. Noah doesn't even know how many pairs of shoes I have. It's just a lot. But it is definitely more than 8 pairs. So, I'm going to circle more than, because that's going to tell me I'm going this way. And it's more than 8 pairs. So I would say it is more than 8 is my amount of shoes. Okay? Now let's look at the last one. My ideal weight is no more than 160. Meaning, I can be 160 pounds or less. I don't want to get above 160 pounds. So my weight, no more, going up here to our examples, remember that was this one, less than or equal to. So no more than 160. Now, what's interesting about this one is, let's say your ideal weight is no less than 130, but no more than 160. So you can actually do equations where you say no less than 130, no more than 160. And you could say, okay, well, it's no more than 160. We already did that one. But it's also no less than 130. Well, no less is this one. It's at least 130. So what is my range and my weight, my healthy weight that I want to be in? Raise your hand if you can tell me. Angel? 130 to 160. So W would equal any number between 130 and 160. Okay. All right, let's go to page 117. All right, on this page, let's first read and look if we find any of those keywords. My bank account has at least $30. So it's $30 or more, right? So we're going to start with our variable, my bank account. At least, if I go over here, it is greater than, right? Or is it greater than or more, or equal to? Which one would it be? Daphne?
Greater than or equal to.
Why?
Because the key word is at least.
Correct. We're saying at least, so that tells us we're going to be in this greater than or equal to. So I'm going to go back. Greater than or equal to $30. Okay, let's do the next one. She climbed no more than 300 feet. Can somebody do that one for me? Justine, go ahead.
I think it would be less than or equal to.
Good, because you saw the keyword no more, right? So it would be this. I'm going to have my variable. I'm going to do a J for Justine. And 300 feet. So Justine went no more than 300 feet. She went 299 feet, 300 feet, or anything less than that, but she did not go 301 feet or 300.5 feet. She did not go any further than 300 feet. Anybody want to do the next one? Noah Engel?
I think it's greater than.
You think it's greater than? Why?
This is more than.
Good. Is it? I have more than. It says no more. It doesn't say no more, right? Because if it said no more, then it could possibly be that value. You're correct. So how would I write that?
Or just write the whole thing.
Okay. How would I say? So my n is, which way am I going to go?
And you would go
Towards the variable. So it's either bigger than what number? 60. Correct. All right, guys, so what I want you to do now is in your table groups, you're going to do the next 4 together. Once you've done the next 4, I want you guys to work on creating 3 good questions as a team, okay? And write those in your book. You have a notebook check coming up, so at least get ahead on this and do your questions together, okay? You have time. You have about 8 minutes left of class to work together on finishing this up. I want everybody turning into their group and everyone working together. Got it? Okay, thank you.